Morning, Warren. Well, if we look back at Tuesday, that was an incredible day for any football club. We had 8 in, 3 out, 4 if you include Jordan Flores the day before. Have you ever known anything like that?
Obviously it was hectic. We're in a situation with the games and financially as well, different, to get lads out before they bring them in as well. You had targets were changing throughout the day. There's certain players at other clubs that we asked about as well that were just completely out of the price range, or clubs didn't want to let them go, which you're going to get once you sell Yannick for that amount of money later in the day.
And I guess it's a case of some of them you obviously knew, some of them we'd been planning for a long time, and it gives you that ability to go and get those players when the Yannick transfer we knew was going to happen.
Well, there's a mixture of players coming. There's a mixture of some for now, some for to redevelop, some to get up to fitness, some and a couple for the future as well. So there's a mixture of trying to build the club really.
Have you learned all the names yet?
Yeah, I know all the names. Yeah, we're just struggling to get a locker. We're having the big brother eviction too. Anybody trains bad, they get out the first team dressing room, they lose the locker. So at the minute, that's quite a busy place to be.
But without going through each one, obviously there's some players that that you've worked with before. There's that are long-term projects really. But the squad's got some depth now to it, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's got. I think we've got four more players than we had at the start of January, and I think actually in spite of that the kind of wage bill's gone down, so it's been a plus all the way around really.
So someone like Gabriel Obertan, for instance, you've worked with, his qualities, he's probably a player for the immediate, where someone like, Bogle or the others, Laurent, are people that you're planning for long term.
Yeah, you've got to have a mixture of both. Gabby was one out of the blue. I actually seen that he was going to Crystal Palace. I know he could have gone to top French clubs, and I had no way of contacting him. He phoned me and asked if he could come. So he's come for, it's probably the smallest wages he ever had in his life, and he just wants to try and help the football club, which is a massive plus. To have a player of that stature at 27, just desperate to come and play, is a credit to him. And we've got to get him up a little bit of fitness, because obviously the window, they had the winter break there and it closed, so he's not done anything for 3 or 4 weeks. So it's just getting him up to speed, but a big plus, a player of that stature to come in on a free transfer and just desperate to try and help Wigan Athletic.
And someone like Vogel, for instance, who you obviously got a faith that he can score goals at any level, so that's a big challenge.
Well, he's a young one for the future. If you're having centre forwards, you'd rather have hungry ones if they're big, not somebody who's been playing at this level. I mean, you probably priced out wage bill because the big forwards who scored 20 odd goals at the Championship cost millions and millions, and are on millions and millions. The lad's desperate to come and play and prove he can play in the Championship, and we want to help him improve and develop, and see how much he can develop in the coming years for Wigan Athletic.
Now, ironically, given so many players that have come in, you've got probably, or I'm not going to pick your team for you, but there's a good chance of having an unchanged or near unchanged team for the third game running.
Yeah, the lads have been playing. I've done a great job for the club and obviously themselves. They've shown a good understanding that tactically we've played some really good football against good sides. Obviously we've lost Wiltshire, but he didn't play at Manchester United anyway, and the nucleus there, plus Morgan, have been playing most of the games anyway, and they're suited to the style. They work the socks off for the football club, and they can pass the ball. So we've got to keep doing that. We've got people chomping at the bit for a chance now, and certainly the training was very good yesterday. We've got good cover if there's any injuries, and the fight's on. It's obviously going to be difficult. We knew it was. Nothing's changed in that respect, but we've just got to fight every game that we play between now and the end of the year.
And also, we've got all these new players, but we've also got a couple of long-term injury players who are knocking on the door again. Reece James, for instance, he was on the bench for the first time in a year. That's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's softly with him and Gilby really. You're giving him a little bit of a boost by for all the hard work he's put in, in the gym over a year. But they're still away from what the really, the true fitness is. But it's good to have him involved and around the group again.
Now, you talked about how pleased you were in the first 60 minutes, especially at Old Trafford, and how we played in the previous games. That's presumably something that you want to take into a big game against Sheffield Wednesday on Friday night.
Yeah, that's over with now. It's a nice get to have. They give a really good account of themselves, the players. They must be confident that they can play, higher levels and on big stages and express themselves, the way that they've done. But it's back to the main event really, and we've got to be right back into it and right on song this Friday night.
And Wednesday are a good team, make no mistake about that.
Well, they're a top side, yeah. The top side have spent a hell of a lot of money in this league, and we've come out of it probably spending £1 million and bringing in 7. So, and they at the last minute throw a £10 million player, from a Premier League, having already bought, strikers, top strikers, Winnall, probably one of the better strikers in the league. So they're not a mug team. They've got some good players. They expect to get promoted. So it's a really tough game. It's not no different than last week really. We've got to be right at the top of our game, to beat them.
But there's a belief, it looks like, in the squad that we can go into games and get positive results. That must be very pleasing from your point of view.
Well, I think all the way through, I think there's been a consistency somewhat in performance. Just there's been hiccups in some of the games that have cost us, so we've just got to make sure we eradicate them. Even though it is Man United, the first 2 goals were disappointing goals to concede. So we've got to make sure that we stop that, or that doesn't creep back into the game really, because that's the bit that's killed us really during the period where we lost games that we should have either drawn or won.
A final question or final point. The fans were superb at Old Trafford when they sang for 90 minutes, but we need more of that again on Friday night.
Oh yeah, they were, to make the amount of noise that they did. I think it's good probably when they're all together and in a tight group, where sometimes in the stadium they're split up in factions, aren't they? And we certainly need their help. They've got a massive part to play, in the rest of the season, and we've all got to be together in achieving our aim, because it's going to be difficult, but I think certainly the players that are playing every week are up for the fight. The new ones are desperate to impress and do well, and we've all got to be as one, fighting together to see if we can achieve what we want to do this season.